Hello, folks. This is Ed Overstreet. I am your host on the Night Sky Imaging YouTube channel, and we're going to be looking at solar time lapses. Haven't had a shot at doing any time lapses for several months due to clouds. It's one of the benefits of living in the sunny south of the United States. But I have been spending this time going over data that I've taken in the months past that I never got around to processing. I'm good to do that, or bad to do that. So let's get started. But there's going to be one difference with this time lapse, and that is I'm going to use a technique in the PixInsight software program called linear fit to adjust the exposures so that they all are equally exposed. Part of the problem that you'll have doing time lapses is that there might be some thin layers of clouds that really don't block the sun, but they do change the amount of signal that you're getting. And so as you blink through your time lapses, you'll notice that there's some brightness levels that vary from picture to picture. And that creates a flicker in your time lapse. And so I was trying to figure out a way to combat that. And Lightroom has a feature if you're in the library mode called match total exposures. And you've got to do some tweaking of your file in order to get that to work. Now, I figured out how to do it, but gosh, it's just a lot of work to get the exposures. And I kind of made up my mind that the only time I was going to spend that much time on match total exposure feature in Lightroom would be if I had a time lapse that just had so much good stuff that I really wanted to get it. So most of my time lapses are pretty unremarkable. There isn't a whole lot going on. There might be a little surface prom activity. There might be some activity around a sunspot and some flaring going on. But most of the time, it's just business as usual with the sun. But when I get one that's a real difference maker, I will spend the time to I'll spend the time to take care of it. So at any rate, what I want to do now is head over to the process of called linear fit and show you how it works. Alrighty, I'm going to cover some things I've covered in the past, just in case you're seeing time-lapse video, how I do time lapses from I'm having a hard time talking. Oh, should I start over? Or should I continue? Okay. If you haven't seen one of my time-lapse videos and you're curious as to the steps involved, this is what I do. I capture AVI files. I use a program called SharpCap. You can use Fire Capture, doesn't matter, or other acquisition software. I choose SharpCap. I usually take around 500 frames. Depending on whether it's a prom that I'm chasing or a sunspot, I may vary that. I sometimes take as many as 1,000, but that creates a really large file size. And after all, I'm going to be creating a GIF. It's going to be a large enough file as it is. So I keep the file size down as much as I can. So 500 frames is of AVI files is a gracious plenty. After capturing the files, and I try to image for at least 2 hours, taking one and then pausing for about 20 seconds and then taking another, pausing another 20 seconds, taking another. And I create crosshairs on SharpCap, and I manage the mount by nudging it one way or the other to keep it centered as best I can on a feature like a sunspot. And so for the 2 hours, I sit there and babysit. Now, I have lunar mode with EQ Mod. And most Celestron software, if you're imaging the moon, it goes into a lunar mode where you're tracking at the lunar rate. But my telescope that's outside, I guess we're all outside, but my telescope that's outside, when looking at the sun, this is not going to do good. My telescope has been bumped so many times, and in fact, I just brought it in to clean it, take it apart for during this cloudy time, and I've taken it back outside, waiting for clear skies to start image again. But it hasn't been polar aligned. I have it aimed in the general direction. I use a compass, and I use an angle feature app that puts it at the 34.912 uh, uh, latitude, and I just use a compass to get me close to north, and that's it. I have the Pole Master, and I could take time one night to properly polar line it, but I don't know that it would really improve the tracking all that much. But at any rate, I get the tracking. I have to manually kind of nudge it from time to time and babysit it. I really don't mind because I like seeing the images coming in. I usually have something on TV that's right next to me to keep me busy, some movie or something I'll put on Netflix, and I'll be watching it while I babysit them out. So, but you need to plan at least 2 hours. You want to get 200 to 300 video frames. Then you take them into AutoStackered and you stack them. And then you go into IMPPG and you do a batch type of sharpen and you align them. Now, you do a brief alignment. This isn't going to be the final alignment, but you want to make sure that you can align your stars. Always do some sharpening before you batch align, because it makes it easier for the software to align if the features are sharper. If they're real soft, then it becomes a challenge for it and it may not come out. So sharpen your image first, then do a batch align. All of this can take place in IMPPG, and I'll show you how I do it in a minute. Then I usually take the images once they're they're now TIFF files. From AutoStacker to become TIFF files, I load them as TIFF files into batch sharpen, and I save them as in batch alignment. They become 8-bit TIFF files, and then I load them into PixInsight or Lightroom. But today we're going to use PixInsight because we're going to use linear fit. If I went into Lightroom, I would use match total exposure. So in PixInsight, I'm going to blink through them and I'm going to cull any of the eyeball rejects. And then I'm going to probably crop some of the edges away. Then I will probably colorize it in PixInsight. And then if there's any further sharpening, by this time, it's probably even perhaps over sharpened. And I've even ran convolution in order to take some of the over sharpening edges away. But I'm going to visit the subject of sharpening or convolution, and I'm going to see whether or not it needs any more tweaking. But it can be done in PixInsight, and it can be done using the process container to put all your images, and then taking the steps that you want to apply and doing them all in a batch. Then I will take what's left when that's done, and then I'm going to run a linear fit on all of them so that I can match all of the exposures. Now, in step 2, I did a brief batch alignment. Well, it's not brief. I do a batch alignment and I look at it. And if it looks like I've got them all aligned and it's worth keeping, then I usually just delete the batch alignment, because I want to do the blinking, the cropping, the colorizing, and the linear fit before I do a final alignment. And so it's called final alignment if necessary. And, most every case, I'm going to do a final alignment. And then I go into PIPP software to make a GIF file. I make a GIF file because I can put that, they're manageable size files, and I can put that on Astrobin and That's the main place I like to put them. I will put them on my Facebook page, and but for the most part, I make it a GIF file just because Astrobin will not accept an AVI, an MOV, or any other type of movie file that I know of, unless that's changed. So now the software that I'm using, and here are the ways to access that: AutoStacker, IMPPG, PixInsight, and PIPP. Everything but PixInsight is free. And so if you happen to have Lightroom, then you don't really need PixInsight. You can do everything in Lightroom. And I have a video that I've done tutorial on how to do a time lapse and use Lightroom's batch features to do essentially the same thing: colorize, crop, the whole thing, and even match total exposures. But I prefer PixInsight. I have more control over it, and but both work. And then the last thing is you make the movie in a software program called PIPP. So with that being said, we're now going to head over to the data. We're going to look at it, and we're going to work on it very, very, very quickly. All right, we're there, and I said we were there. We aren't there. Hang on a second. Now we're there. So first thing we're going to load up is IMPPG, and we're going to go to, I was just looking at one of the pictures before I started. This is one of the images I've worked on, and we're going to open up, we're going to go to the Astro 3, and we're on May the 16th. This is 2017, guys. To how far behind I am in working on stuff. All right. I took, I don't know how many AVI files I took, but I kept 10%. I probably took 500 frames in each AVI file, and I kept 10% or 50, and I stacked 50. So this will give you an idea of what kind of data you get with just 50 frames. Now, when you open up IMPPG, open up an image in IMPPG, it brings up this box, and you can make this box, just take your mouse and draw it, make it as big as you want. But the problem, all you see, if you have some sharpening and deconvolution, unsharp mask, tweaks already in place, the only thing where it applies it is in this square, and that's to improve your performance, because this is kind of computer intensive. It takes a lot of computer power, they say. But I don't have tremendously fast laptops that I'm working on right now, and it goes pretty good. So what I do is I go up to Edit, and I select and process all. Come on, Edit and process all. So I go up and, well, let me close this out. I don't know how that got opened. Back to IMPPG. This is just not being a great day. So we're going to open another image. The last couple of videos I've made, probably all the script stuff. Now we're going to Edit, select and process, Edit, select and process all. The box goes away, and then any tweaks that I make to this will be to the whole thing. All right, I want to reduce the size. I'm going to use this minus key to back it down some so I can see everything. And the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up curves. This little squiggly thing up here, because I'm going to turn this background white, and I'm interested in seeing if there's any activity on the surface. And the only way that I can do that is to run an inverted type of image, but it isn't inverted. When you truly invert the image, the black becomes white, the white becomes black, and that does happen in the sky. But if you'll notice the way I invert this, or use this inverted curve, this dark sunspot's not going to be white. It's still going to be dark, or it better be. So let's take this little place right here, and let's move it right to where the data starts. Let's put an anchor point about right there, and then let's grab this and bring it up to the top of this and drop it. So my sunspot's still dark, but my sky has gotten white and I see problems. So goals achieved. Now I'm going to further work on this curve to kind of go up here and kind of go along the curve of this, not entirely curve of this slope right here. I'm going to kind of stay with it, and we may bring it over a little bit this way and come up. And let's see what we've got. Okay, when I say there's a need to crop from time to time, right here it's all, I have blown the image out up there in the corners. Let's see if we can kind of fix that somewhat. And that ain't the way to go to do that. And let's drop this down some. This is awful hot up here. I'm going to start from scratch. Reset. Anchor point. Scoot this thing over. Let's drag it up here. I'm looking at the top. Alright, that's better. And in fact, I may not do, yeah, the rim's too dark. Let's see if we can't bring up the rim some without causing this up here to get blown out. I could play around it with it more, but you get the idea. So you spend some time on this to kind of, you really want it to go from dark to brighter because it gives the round look to it, and it is round. You don't want to have a flat field, so the luminosity should taper down, and it should get brighter towards the center. But I will crop probably this much out so that all I'm going to have, I'm going to reduce the size of this a little bit, get it out of the way. So when I crop it, it's probably going to go from about up here over to here. And so I'll lose a lot of that. And settings, not sure what I did, but we're going to reset it and go with this again because I screwed it up. And again, this has just not been a real good. Well, this is going to be, I'm going to change the title of this. I can't even get this to open up. The title of this one to be how not to do one of these time lapses. Let's just close this out. Let's open up this same file again. Something funky going on. All right, edit, select and process all, settings, curves, and anchor point. Right there. Scoot this over. Let's make this go up a little bit more. And then let's bring this up and keep an eye on where to strop it. I'm also paying attention to down here in the corner because I want that to be all white. Trying to get rid of that gradient in this area right here, and at the same time not blow out. I like that. So again, it's a work it to your taste. Then I'm going to apply a good bit of Sigma. I don't do a whole lot down here anymore just because I have almost invariably ruined an image by over sharpening it. And I'd rather have it under sharpened than over sharpened. But I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to kind of keep an eye on things. And I'm starting to like that. I'm going to bring it up a little more. I hardly ever go past 2.5. I have, but deconvolution is also fickle, and I don't want to start getting an extra line going around the rim, and that begins to happen. So I'm watching the rim. Okay, just a tad more. Bingo. I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to save this process. It's going to be called Save Batch Processing Settings. And where am I going to save it? Let's go to 516, where I took this, and I'm going to just save it into the root directory, and I'm going to call this and this is 51622, and so I now have my process. Everything that I did here has now been, it's supposed to be saved, but I'm hitting save and it's not saving. What a day. Fingers crossed it fixes itself. I'm getting a not responding. Good. All right. Now we're going to do all the images. So to do all the images, we're going to go up to File, Batch Processing. And I'm going to add all of those files in, let's see. You got to find 516. 516 spot right here, and they are there. We're going to grab this, and we're going to find an output directory. So we're going to go to 16. We're going to call this new folder. We're going to call this first step IMPPG, and it's going to be sharpen. It's really deconvolution. And so we now have, I don't get it. Now we got to load our process settings, and we did that right here. Process setting sunspot, so we're going to load that. So everything we did to tweak this image is going to be applied to all of these in batch. I want to save it as a TIFF, 8-bit, LZW compression, and we're going to process this. I'll come back when it's done. It's going to go one right after the other, and it takes a few minutes because we have, I think, 201 of these images to go through. Okay, we have finished this, so let's close this out. And we're now going to run a alignment. I call this a brief alignment. There's nothing brief around it because we're going to align all the images. But before I invest in, I call it brief because it's going to shorten this entire process if when I try to align them, it doesn't look right. And that happens probably 50% of the time. And as a matter of fact, it'll happen when either I don't have any remarkable features that can help the alignment process, haven't sharpened it enough, possibly could be a cause. But also if I've walked away from the mount a number of times while I was imaging and they're all over the place. It may require such a crop that it just doesn't know what to do and it just fails. So at any rate, let's go ahead and align them, and while it's going through that process, I'll show you the telescopes that I use to do solar imaging. I call it the poor man's kit. So we're going to go to Tools. We're going to select Align Image Sequence. Now we got to load our images, and I put them in this folder right here. So let's select them all, and we'll open them up. Now we need to select another output directory for our aligned images, and so we're going to go to the root and create a new folder. This is freezing again. There we go, folder, and we're going to call this 2- AL, I don't mean to do that, IMPPG ALIGN, and that's the folder we're going to select. Come on, okay. I'm going to use subpixel alignment. We're going to crop I don't want to build a pad around it. I want to, if I have to crop it to, because it's bouncing, the image ended up bouncing all over the place. In order to align it, I want it to align. And I want it to use features. I don't want it to align on the solar limb because the solar limb is really just not that precise. And I've tried it. It doesn't work as well. And you might try it. It works for you, but it doesn't for me. So I pretty much leave the default. So let's start processing. And it's getting ready to do its thing. So this is going to take the other took 5 minutes to do the 200 images, to apply the process settings, sharpening. And this is going to take probably 3 or 4 minutes. But while we're doing that, what am I going to do? I'm going to take you over to my telescopes, if I can find them. They're in here somewhere. I think they're there. Okay. On top is the Solar Scout, and that's actually what took the background image you're seeing on my green screen. It's a 60 millimeter telescope. There's a finder there to help you spot the sun. But I use one on the that's mounted on the plate, saddle plate here, and it's a lot easier to do this one, by the way. And this is the equivalent of the quark chromosphere. Daystar says it isn't, but it is. And then I have a tilt adapter that I use to combat Newton's rings. If you don't do that, then you're going to have rings. They can be circular kind of rings. They can just be horizontal or vertical rings. But you're going to see rings, and so you have to tilt the sensor and the sensor plane slightly, and to combat those, and it will get rid of them. And on this particular day, this is an old picture. This is probably 7 or 8 years old. In fact, this is probably what I was using when I took this. But the Scout has a 174 monochrome camera on it, and I think this is the 224 by ZWO. This was a cool camera because I was going to use it to do some deep space. I thought it might work. It didn't. But it's a great planetary and a great solar and lunar camera. It didn't need to be cooled, though. You don't need to do that for solar or planetary. But at any rate, it is. And then this is a 224 camera, and it's attached to this is a quark chromosphere. And this is a moonlight focuser. This does not have an electronic focuser. It's a helical focuser. You have to manually focus, which I hate because I do all of my imaging from inside, and all of my computers are inside. Now I have laptops outside, but I connect to them by Wi-Fi. I cannot really see the sun well enough. I don't care how much of a hood I build over the laptop outside. I just can't see it as well as I can inside. By the way, I have a house full of company. I hear them downstairs. I don't have my headset on because it's so hot. So I don't know how much background noise is coming through here, but it's my wife and her friends. I don't know, loud. Um, okay, what am I doing? I'll take a drink. I'm going to make a video on how to take a long video. I'm doing that really well. All right. And that's it. I have changed. I no longer use these rig runners for power and a USB hub on the other side. I use the Pegasus Ultimate Power Box version 2, and it does it all. Love it. I put those. I have what you don't see. I have two other kits. Oh, that's another view of the solar scope. I'm looking here. Here's a drone picture. Okay, this is the solar scope, and then I have two other peer-mounted kits, and then right here is where I have my laptops, and This is an old one too, although I have the power boxes on them now. Uh, here's one, here's one, here's one. But I also picked up another 174 camera, and I've got them now on the 65 EDQ chromosphere, and I have it also on the Solar Scout. I can't image them both on the same at the same time on the same laptop, but I do go back and forth, and I may take a video or an AVI sequence on one, and then I'll go to the other just because there's just a lot of activity worth noting. And this gets almost the full disk. In fact, it does get the full disk. So, and I like being able to do that. This does not. I get about, I'd say somewhere around 35% of the sun, maybe 40% of the sun with this. Okay, now let's go back and see if it's done with the aligning, and it ought to be close if not done. It's done. All right. Now, I want to go ahead and make a movie, and let's do that very quickly. Bury that one. Let's go ahead and make this movie and see if it's going to be decent. So I'm going to bring up Pip. We're going to get around to linear fit before the day's over, which is what this is really all about. But I thought, well, why not go ahead and show how to do these time lapses again. And let's go down to my external drive that I got. It's the D drive. And we're going to the 16th. We got our line of pictures. And so we're going to load all of our pictures that have been aligned. Now, none of them have been blinked. We haven't added color. We haven't done a crop. All we've done is a sharpen and align. So we've registered the image. They should be stacked one right on top of the other, but we'll see. Nothing up here has changed. I changed nothing. I don't change anything down here. I don't optimize for solar, lunar, close. I don't do any of this. I go up here to animation. I come down here where it says play all frames, reverse order after you've gone forward. So it just goes over and over and over again. So it's an animation. Then the next thing is I move over to the right and I take output options, and I want a GIF file. I could have an AVI, an SCR, and or I could make a stacked image, TIFF, FITS, or what have you. No way, I want a GIF file. I'm going to change this to 30 frames per second. That's going to be the frame rate. And let's go ahead and do maximum quality. Although I can't tell the difference between maximum and good, but I want you to be aware that it is there. And when we're done, we go to the last tab and we go to start processing. And it's going to be making a run. It's going to take another few minutes. There are 201 frames. I thought there was. And so it's now creating the animated video. I will pause it so you don't have to wait for this whole thing. Okay, that's going to take about a minute and 20 seconds to do. And we are done. Fingers crossed. Let's see if we got a video. I'm going to boot it up. And it's playing. All right. We do. You will see the proms when we finish with our processing. The sky will be white, not black. And so there is some activity right here. There's some filament activity right here, and right in here. There's some going on right here. This is probably going to be much more remarkable than anything we're going to see on the sun. It had to do some of its own cropping in order to align, and it did crop out some of this. Wouldn't you know it, this particular video, the exposures are pretty close. It's going to be hard to see where linear fit did any good at all. I should have done some research before I did this video and found some data that almost everything has a variation in the exposure somewhere in the file, video file, but this looks pretty decent. So I'll show you how you run it and how it's fixed should you have these issues. So let's close this out, and we really don't need this anymore because we're going to redo it. But we can close this out as well. And now we're going to move over to PixInsight, and I got to change computers to do that because I use Pix on a Mac. I prefer iMacs, and but the software that we've been referring to, AutoStacker, PIPP, and IMPPG, only run on a Windows operating system. They may run on other operating systems, but they don't run on Macs. Okay, we are back in PixInsight, and normally what I would do is I'd bring up all processes, blink, and I would I don't know what that one was, similar to what I'm looking on, and I would load my aligned files. So we're going to go to the 16th, and we're going to go to the aligned files, and we're going to grab them, and let's bring them into PIPP. Okay, let's go through these very quickly. I am flying through them, and I'm looking at this. It aligned pretty good. But can you tell? Okay, good. Look how bright it gets when it goes back. It's about to finish. It's going to start all over again. And then it's gotten darker. It's going to get brighter. There it did. So there is a value difference in luminosity. Linear fit's going to fix that. So good. By the way, I had to do something with when I loaded the batch processing. And I don't know what I did. I don't know whether my curve got uninverted or what, but this should be a white background showing the proms. I'm not going to change it just because I don't really think there's a whole lot here to celebrate in a time lapse, and I'm more or less just demonstrating how it works. But there's no reason in the world why this should be black other than I must have loaded a different process setting. I think I loaded the right one, or I changed the process setting inadvertently somewhere along the line when I was manipulating the deconvolution. I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention. But I evidently saved the wrong thing. I don't know what I did, but this is pretty much uncommon. All right, let's now open up one of these images, just one, and let's go to Astro 3, 516. Let me see something under sharpen. All right, did I pick up the wrong darn? Hang on a minute. Nope, still dark. All right, but I'm going to pick up one of these aligned images. Doesn't matter which one you pick up. And let's take a look at it. And do we want to apply any more sharpening? I'm not. Do I want to crop? I do. So I'm going to bring up the dynamic crop, and I'm going to reset that. And I'm going to come in here to about there, and I'm going to come down just a tad, and I'm going to come in here to about there, and I'm going to come in about right there. So that's what we're going to do. So there's our crop. And then let's go ahead and colorize it. Very simple. Let's take a look at the real-time view by hitting this. Let's take our red and let's bring it up. Let's take our green and bring it down. Let's take our blue and bring it down. Let's go back to our red and bring it down, or up, down, up, reset. Let's bring it up, and green, drop it some, blue, drop it some. Alright, let's apply that. Let's reset it. Let's go to our RGB. Let's make an S curve. Now we're going to make a dumbed down curve. Let's bring it up some. Apply that. Let's reset. I could probably sharpen it up some. Let's take saturation. Let's just bump it up a little bit and apply that. Okay, let's just quit. And all right, what else are we going to do to this? The very last thing we do is linear fit, but we don't do that now. Let's go ahead and let's bring in MMT and multimedium transform, and let's take a look and see if any sharpening, real-time preview. I don't like it. We could try heck with it. I don't want to sharpen it anymore. Okay, so here's our image. Yeah, I just want to minimize it up here. And I'm going to open up the process container and the image container. You can find all of this up in all processes. Image container is somewhere in you know, image container may be a script. It's not a, no, it's got to be up here. It's got a different name. Well, it's one of these things here, and it is image. I don't know. I don't want to look for it. Same thing with process container. Where? Let's see. It does bother me. I can't find it over here. I save them as a. I can't find process container. This has not been a good. I don't remember where they are, and I got to find them here for you guys. We'll put this on hold and find them. Well, folks, I'm losing it again. Here is where the image container is. Just right click on your desktop. I spent 10 minutes going through this entire thing and stopped, went downstairs and ate some peanuts. Must have some monkey in me. And it hit me. And so at any rate, that's where it's located. We need the image container and we need the process container. And that is, I think, that might be a right click too. I think that is a process. Let's go down and make sure. Yeah, here it is. So image container, right click, it's on your desktop. Process container right here. Now we're going to open up the History Explorer, and it's blank because we need to bring this image in it. So I'm going to select that image, and we performed a crop and we did a couple of curves. So I'm going to drag this into the process container, and everything we did to the image, we're going to drop it into there, and then I'm going to drag this over here and just drop it. I need to set that aside. Now I need to load my files, so I'm going to go right here and let's see, make sure we're going to load the right ones. We're in, this is it. We're going to grab all 201. We didn't eliminate any. We need an output directory. We don't need a base directory. And so let's go to right here, and let's add a new folder, 3-Pix underscore crop underscore color underscore curves saturation. All right, that's our new directory. And then we've got it all located. We got a very long file name, and I'm going to get rid of the date and time. I don't need that. So I'm going to come down here to here, and that's all I need. Okay, and that's it. And then I'm going to take this icon right here, a triangle, and I'm going to drop it right on this process. And it's going to apply all of these tweaks that we made to all of these images in a batch process and store them in that new folder we've created. Okay, now we can close these out, and we no longer need this process. We can delete that, and we can delete this image. We no longer need it. And the next thing we're going to do is run linear fit. So we're going to go up to script, batch processing, and this is how we match the exposures. And we're going to go down to batch linear fit. We're going to load our images, and they are here in the new directory. Actually, before I do that, while I got a new folder, I'm going to create a new folder for dash pix dash linear fit. All right, that's where we're going to store those. We'll be asked to do that in a minute. Okay, so we're going to load those images, which I forgot to do, and they are right here where we did all the batch coloration curves, and we need a reference image, so we're going to just take the very first one, and we'll make it this one. The very first one, we're going to match up with all of them, and then we're going to change this to a TIFF file, and we need an output directory, which we created in our Brilliance a while ago. It's going to be in linear. Well, let's see. We need to go back to the 16th linear fit. That's where we're going to store it. And and actually, we're going to make this a JPEG. JPEG. And we're good. So let's run it. Okay, it's asked me if I want to do another batch. I don't, so we'll sign off of here. And now we're going to open these images up on the Windows machine. So I need to pause and change computers. Okay, we're back now on our Windows machine, and let's make sure I just moved the hard drive and I've connected to the Windows using Wi-Fi. Let's see. I want to make sure our D drive is open. There it goes, and we're on the 16th, and this is our linear fit. Yay, we got them all. And the color, the lightness levels, they all should be precisely the same. That's the plan. I do want to revisit IMPG and find out why in the heck I lost my background to black. But let's go ahead and make our movie and see what it looks like. So we're going to go back now to add image files. Oh, let's realign them. Let's bring in IMPPG. And let's go to File, Batch, and we're going to create, no, we're not sharpening again. We're going to Tools, Align, Add Files. We're down here to Linear Fit. These ones we want to align now that we've colorized, cropped. We didn't sharpen any further. And ran Linear Fit. And let's change this now to let's just keep it in the we'll make a new folder. We'll call this 5 GIF no align golly, what's going on here? EMPPG and okay, we'll select that and let's go ahead and start processing that. I'll be back when it's done. Okay, it's finishing up and is now translating and saving the output images. And we're done. So we can close this, and now we're going to bring up pip. We're going to load our images, and let's make sure we have gone to newly aligned after linear fit images. After linear fit, and also some other tweaks that we made, cropping and so forth in. Animation's going to be play all forward. Output's going to be GIF. And we're going to change this to 30 frames per second. We're going to select maximum quality. We're going to go to do processing. We're going to start. And it's going to take us on a trip through this, and I'll come back when that's done. I can tell you what happened while this other is while we're processing in pip, and we're getting close to done. I went back over and I looked at IMPPG, and I pulled up and made this larger. This is what happened. Somehow or another, I pulled this down, and so I'm going to reset this. What it should have been, I don't know how that curve got pulled down, but pay attention, guys. Don't do what I did. Let's go ahead and select and process all, and then you can finagle, and that's what I meant to do. But somehow or another, that got pulled down, and I guess I did it. I know you didn't do it, and I'm the only one up here, but my dog, Astro Dog. So I said, guys, you did it. But I think I did it. Okay, we don't need that. We need, what do we need? Okay, we're not done yet. We're on our way. So we put you on hold, and I'll come back when the movie's made. We'll take a look at it. Okie dokie, we're done. And here's our movie. And it looks like linear fit. It looked pretty good to start out with, but we know when it reverses and starts all over again that it was going to show a real luminosity change like it did in Blink, but it didn't. So it did its thing. Now, I'm so pissed off that I ended up inadvertently running an inverted curve and ended up with this black background because there is some activity on the rim that I'm going to sign off, but I'm going to go back and redo it. I just want to see what it looks like with that activity. So guys, this is it. Talk to you later, and clear skies to everybody. And if you will, like and subscribe. Give me the motivation to make these things as bad as long as they are. And thanks for hanging in there with me. I love this hobby. I don't mind sharing what little I do know, and I hope this helps.